mute everybody. If you have anything that you urgently need to share with us, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, you should see a little chat box, and you can type in a little message there if you want. Okay? So we're muting everybody here right now just so we don't hear any background noise, and I'm going to share my screen right now, and we'll get started. So this presentation was actually put together by American Century Investments. And American Century is a mutual fund company. One of the things being an independent financial advisor, I can use just about any company's materials, including their products, their marketing materials, their internal help desk, so it does benefit me a great deal. American Century is really, I guess, kind of interesting in the respect that it was a company that was started by a gentleman by the name of James Stowers and I apologize, I don't know if it's James Stowers or Stowers, but in 1958 is when he started the company in Kansas City, and both he and his wife were cancer survivors, so they also created the Institute for Medical Research, which is designed to search out the causes and treatment and prevention of gene-based diseases, including cancer, diabetes, and dementia. And the company contributes anywhere from 30 to 50% of its profits into that organization, so kind of interesting. Mr. Stowers, and I apologize again, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name correctly, died just a few years ago, and I think he was over the age of 90. So just kind of a little interesting human, I might say human interest story in the background there. So what we're going to talk about today, our goals are to talk about what, essentially is identity theft. What is it? How are we at risk? What role does social media play in this aspect of identity theft? And what can we do to protect or enhance our own security to make it more difficult for us to become victims of identity theft? And, this is kind of interesting, it's a little bit like I use the analogy of, when we get into a car, there are certain precautions that we can take. We can buckle our seat belts, we can follow traffic rules, we can abstain from texting and things like that. So these are just some precautions that we can take to protect ourselves. Now, I'm not really looking to spend any time on products so much. We'll touch on them a bit, but we really want to look at the conceptual idea and then figure out what we can do about it ourselves. So I think when some people think of the topic of identity theft, they have a tendency to think of maybe just one thing, just one component of it. And there's really a kind of more to it. And if we think back a few years ago, we saw that Target, the department store, was a victim of a massive data breach, and nearly 100 million shoppers had their credit card data stolen. The data included addresses, phone numbers, emails, personal identification numbers. And there was reports that stated that that whole breach started with a 17-year-old hacker in Russia and began with a very simple, what's known as, and we'll talk about in a minute, a phishing email. In response, Target offered 1 year of free credit monitoring from Experian. And so I think, again, what we want to cover today in particular, too, is what the different types are. I think it's more encompassing than what most people will take into consideration. We're also going to talk a little bit about social media, particularly Facebook. Every day I've heard that there's an addition of between 300 and 400 million new photographs of on Facebook every day. Now, one of the things that I think is interesting, and I thought about this even before I pulled this event together, was I would remember seeing, you know, colleagues, friends, coworkers, etc., who would go on Facebook and say, "We're not at home. We're in Disney World. Nobody's home." So again, I think that that's one of the things we're going to talk about today is, you know, there's maybe some common sense rules that we might want to think about when we look at social media. Well, I'm going to jump over here for a second and make sure that we have everybody muted. Okay. Let me jump back to that. Okay. So let's get back started here where we were. And if everybody could do me a favor on your, it looks like I've still got a little bit of background here. If you could look on your screen, there may be a button there for you to touch that would cause you to mute your own line there. So if you could take a look at that so we don't get any background noise. Okay. Jumping back in. So what is identity theft? Identity theft is when someone pretends to be you and uses your identification, including your name, social security number, date of birth, to commit fraud or other unlawful activities. And I thought this was really interesting. This can actually, I didn't think of this even myself, in all honesty, is this can take several different forms, 3 that we're going to cover here. And one is with your existing assets, and that's like using your credit card or taking money out of your bank account. And that one I thought about. That one kind of made sense to me. The 2 others that I didn't think about so much was where somebody takes your information and takes out additional debt, like a mortgage. Now, that's pretty interesting, or applying for new credit cards, which is a little less outlandish, I guess, to me. And then the one I guess I really don't think about, and I think maybe many people don't, is that act of cloning. And that's where someone actually assumes an entire identity. And that can be used by fugitives, illegal immigrants. And of the 3, without a doubt, cloning is the most difficult because with use of existing assets or even new debt, mostly the institutions, the banks, the credit card companies, kind of step in. They actually, in many cases, assume the liabilities caused by some identity theft. It used to be $50, now it's everything. But with cloning, there's really kind of nobody out there to take the fall other than yourself. So identity theft is really not, I would say, new. I think it's become more mainstream or more talked about. Ironically, we have twice the chance of having our ID stolen as we do having our home broken into. And this is the one I thought was really interesting too, or these next couple, were that in more than 25% of identity theft cases, the victim knows the thief. And when the victim knows the thief, over a third of the time, it's a family member who does this. Age 29 and under, young adults are the fastest growing demographic for ID theft. They are at college, they lend their computers, they leave their computers lying around, leave their phones lying around. And 1/3 of all robberies nationwide involve the theft of a cell phone. So if you become a victim of identity theft, there is a very high probability it's going to be someone you know, or because you lost your purse, wallet, computer, smartphone, things like that. So it's not these outlandish things that take place. It's kind of us being, in many cases, careless. So the favorite targets, like we talked a second ago here, credit cards found or stolen, bank fraud using checks or ATMs to steal money. Those are kind of the existing debt ones. The cloning ones, the next four, are a little more difficult. Parents using a child's clean credit history, using someone else's social security number, medical ID theft between ages of 26 and 55, reporting that their identification had been stolen by a family member. Fraudulent tax returns, I didn't even think about that. One of the fastest growing ID theft crimes, most often during tax filing season. So what are the risks of having your identity stolen? Identity thieves access your personal information in many different ways, including stealing your wallet or phone, posing as someone who needs your information about you through a phone call or an email, looking through your trash for personal information, stealing your mail, or accessing information that you provide on an unsecured internet site. I know, as a case in point, when we send out emails to clients, internally we have a program to secure all that, but if we're dealing with the general public, we use a particular little subject line, secure in brackets, and if that email comes to you and it contains any personally identifiable information, you would have to provide the answer to some questions in order for you to read that email. Some of us in the last maybe 6 months to a couple of years are seeing perhaps more of these magnetic strips on the back of the card being replaced by these chips. So the strips have been around forever, but the last, I would say, 6 months to maybe a year, we're seeing these chips where you've got to slide in your card as opposed to just swiping it. And these are actually very small computers encrypted with personal identification in it, and it remains blocked to any other card readers until a consumer can enter a PIN. It's very difficult to crack, but it costs much more than it does for a magnetic card. So, we're still seeing some places where swiping cards are still in use. Just this past fall, credit card companies will hold merchants who don't accept the chip cards liable themselves for fraudulent transactions, particularly from EMV cards. So, this transition is going on to EMV magnetic strips to a standard known as EMV, and now a chip. So it is getting more secure than it used to be, which is good. Again, my commentary about social media, such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, you name it. These are where people readily and willingly share personal information, their birth date, month, date, year, their address, the name of their spouse, name of their kids. These are all very significant locations where identity theft can take place. So I thought this was kind of amusing. This is types of social media. Facebook, I like drinking coffee with my friends. Google, where's a good place to drink coffee with my friends? Twitter, I am drinking coffee with my friends. Snapchat, here's a picture of me drinking coffee with my friends. LinkedIn, my skills include drinking coffee. YouTube, here's a video of me drinking coffee and spilling it. And Foursquare, this is where I drink coffee. So Facebook, Google, and social media are changing really the way the world operates. And this, you think about it, they already know what sites we visit, what teams we like, what health conditions we might have, what information do we search for, what is our purchase history, where do we live, who are our family members, what's our email address, what's our birth date. So they collect all this data. I'm sure any of us have seen where you go onto a website, maybe a little while ago you were searching for a new car, and you go onto Facebook, and lo and behold, there's a bunch of car ads there. That's not a coincidence. That's exactly what they're looking to do, is deliver that information to you. So, you know, it is pervasive, but you have to be cognizant of what you put on there. I know myself if I'm on a website or something that asks me for my date of birth, I'm being honest with you, I will put in a fraudulent month, or maybe I'll put in the right month, but I put in the fraudulent date, and if nothing else, I know I've never put in the correct year. I always put in at least a fraudulent year. So right here, you know, birth dates are one of the 3 or 4 pieces of personal information needed to steal your identity. So, you know, try to leave out at least the year. Maybe where appropriate, leave out your relationship status, particularly if you go from being married or cohabitating to being single or divorced. Maybe you don't put in your specific address. Maybe you don't provide the names of all your children. So, who loves oversharing? You know, this is that oversharing of use, including. I also read recently where anything that you post on Facebook can be used against you in a court of law. So this can influence divorce cases, custody battles. Lawyers will use social media to establish your character. So if you're out, you're in a custody battle and you got postings of you out at a bar at 4 in the morning, that might not help your case too well. So there have been, and I'm sure we've heard about people who have lost their job because of postings on Facebook. So anything from thieves to stalkers to attorneys to employers, college admissions that will use these sites to test your mettle. Here's just some ideas on perhaps sharing only with friends as opposed to sharing with everybody. Unpublic your wall so that only friends can see your wall, which is the things that people post to it. Turn off tag suggest. Tag suggest is where if you put in a photo, it puts this little box around your face, and either you or other people can type in your name. Lists, if you create lists with groups of people, friends and family members, maybe you don't do that or keep that private. Again, these social media sites want you to share as much as possible, so sometimes the settings that, the default settings may not be, in your best interest. And I guess, it's what I remember reading a number of years ago where, as far as anything you do in life, don't say anything that you wouldn't want to have posted on the front, as they say, on the front of the New York Times the next day, because that's what Facebook really is. Passwords, good gracious, I love the Hollywood movies, where the hero or heroine finds the password, taped to the bottom of the desk drawer, or types in the owner's dog's name, and goodness gracious. So you would be shocked. Myself, I run into this when people, we talk about accessing their accounts, and they want to use passwords including their spouse's name, their child's name, their pet's name, their social security number, the word password, their city, their birth date, their children's name. So these are not the types of passwords that you want to keep. Don't use names, don't use birth dates and anniversaries, don't use social security numbers, addresses, college affiliations, or your sports teams. Build a password that has 8 to 12 characters. These are characters taken from these different categories: uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, symbols. Maybe create several of them. I know that's one of the things that I do. I have a password that I use in maybe, personal, sites, a different password with business sites, maybe a different password with family sites. So, you can see the ones down here: Yum Beats 14, N Big Bro at T82, things like that are maybe recognizable to you, but not easily, thwarted by somebody else. Phishing, email and phone. I am still shocked that I have to admit, I have seen where I have gotten some of these where I've gotten either a letter in the mail or an email, or an email that you click on and it goes to a website and it's like, hey, this is the IRS, this is the utility company, this is whatever. Your account's going to be closed. Don't ever fall for these. If you have any question whatsoever, go to the company's website, call their customer service, go to your bill, look at the phone number on your bill and call it. You can forward any phishing emails to this government website, which they will try to investigate it and shut it down. Take note that the IRS does not contact with taxpayers by email or social media tools. They send you that godly old font. Looks like it's typed on a Remington typewriter from 1956. I don't know if they still use Oki Data dot matrix printers, but I can assure you the IRS does not send you email or post on your Facebook page that you forgot to send in your tax return. So, here's one. This is an example where phishing is underway, where they've taken a logo and given you an urgent notice that you need to provide your personal information in order to thwart this issue. You can see on here that this is a well-known company, eBay. They're telling you that this is a time-sensitive issue. They're asking you to go to another site, and if you also look at some of the wording in there, like the word received and others, you'll see that there are misspellings. So I don't know if crooks just don't have a dictionary or spell check, but it just seems interesting that a lot of these have those kinds of faults to them. Protect your computer. Put an antivirus program on it. Use a well-known program here like AVG. I have to say, I think that unfortunately the days of Apple computers being pristine is maybe a little bit in the past. I know my wife is an Apple lover, and she's starting to see as much of this as I do now. Secure your wireless network. If you have what's called a router in your home, putting out a wireless signal, you may not realize this, but if you don't secure that with a password, then anybody can access that router and then go into any computer on that system and extract information. If you look at a website, instead of HTTP, if it says HTTPS, then you know that you're on a secured website, which is good. Be smart with your smartphone. Lock your. Oh, and I'm going to go back here. I just thought of something here on the computer thing. One thing that's kind of come out lately, which maybe is not on here, I know this presentation might be a couple years old, maybe a year old or so, but you might even consider using a program that encrypts your hard drive. That means that nobody can go out and pull a file off of your computer if they get access to it. So that's one thing I just personally wanted to, in addition to antivirus, in addition to a firewall, you might want to look at encryption, particularly if you've got a lot of personal information on there. On your phone, lock your phone. Use the 4-digit password like is required on the iPhone. Don't save financial passwords. Don't let Google save financial passwords for you. Install track and wipe software, such as Lookout and Find My iPhone. These are programs that if your phone gets lost or stolen, can reach out and locate it and wipe any contents away if it looks like it's not going to be recovered. Only download apps from trusted sources, and don't miss operating system updates. I think that in the last few years, many of the updates that I've seen are much more security-oriented than they are application-oriented or user upgrades. It's really to protect things. So traditional prevention and protection, what information's at risk? These are some of the key ones: social number, birth date, mother's maiden name, passwords, driver's license number, personal identification numbers, credit card numbers, bank account numbers. So the question is, how many of these do you really need to be carrying around? I have seen some people at the checkout line that have, geez Louise, 10, 15, credit cards, and they've got in there their social security card, they've got their driver's license. If they lose that purse or wallet, like here, work ID card, health insurance card, holy cow, you lose that wallet or that purse, and everything that a thief needs to steal your identity is all nice and juicy in one spot. Protect your mail. I know that when you go to, and most of us have run into this, where you go to apply for a driver's license or license plate or different things like that, you have to bring along a utility bill or a phone bill, also our credit card bills and statements. These are the pre-approved credit card offers. If you look at them, many of them have on there, your name and your address, and all somebody has to do is fill in a couple of extra boxes. Paycheck stubs, 401k and other investment statements, annual Social Security account statement. This used to be paper, now it comes via email. Stop your mail anytime you're on vacation or you're going to be away from home. Go purchase a cross-cut paper shredder. I see here in the community occasionally there are free shredding days. I know there was one last year in Apex down near the police station. I know that UPS here in town, you can take up to 2 pounds a week of documentation any paper to be shredded. So, buy a cross-cut shredder, take it to an event where they're having a free shredding day, take it to UPS. I think even if you've used up your $2 and you got another pound or so, I think it's like 50 cents. It's very inexpensive, and they do the whole thing in one shot for you. Some key documents to protect. These are your car title, birth certificate, Social Security cards, tax returns for the last 5 years, insurance policies, deeds to property, and loan agreements. Again, for all the obvious reasons that it's got all of your information is just located in these documents. Check your credit reports, annualcreditreport.com. It won't give you your FICO score for free. At least I don't think. It didn't last, and I haven't looked at this in a year or so. But you know, if you go on there and you see unexpected loans or something out of the norm, you know, you can report it. Review your bank, credit card, medical statements. Never give personal information in response to unsolicited emails and phone calls. Don't leave your mailbox, your mail in your mailbox overnight and stop it when you're away. Create strong passwords. Set privacy controls on social media. File your tax return as soon as possible. If you can't file early, you can get a PIN from the IRS. If you're not filing electronically, hand your tax return directly to a postal employee. And again, shred all sensitive information. I also seen recently where certain credit cards, bank accounts, whatever, financial planning software if you buy their product, they give you a free credit report and or free access to your FICO score too. So I know the bank that I use offers that, so take a look at that. I'm going to show you something at the very end too that I would suggest, but I will tell you, this is ironic, just last week I use this software to kind of track my budget, but it tracks all my transactions as well. And it has alerts, and I got an email last week saying, hey, there was a $600 charge assessed on one of your accounts. And it turns out it was make a long story short, it was an error. Maybe they would have caught it, maybe not. But there was $600 bucks. But I got an email on my phone, a text on my phone from this computer program saying, hey, you might want to look at this. And I'm going to show you something at the very end that can be used like this. If you do find or suspect that you've been a victim of identity theft, you know, close the compromised accounts immediately. Contact all of your financial institutions immediately. Change your passwords. Contact at least one of the 3 major credit reporting bureaus, and they will flag all of your accounts with a fraud alert, and that way no new credit can be taken out unless they speak to you personally and you provide both authorization as well as some personal information. File a police report. Be sure to document everything in writing and keep a notebook that has names and dates of everyone that you speak to. Just a few online resources here. This is Microsoft's website to its safety and security system. You can go to Twitter and follow Safer Online by Microsoft. You can look at offerings by various companies such as Legal Shield, I know is now offering a product similar or somewhat analogous to LifeLock. Look at the IRS, look at the Federal Trade Commission's commentary on identity theft. So what I'm going to do next is I want to show you one other thing here that I think might be of interest to you, and that is, a second here. Okay, so this was that program I was telling you about that, I'm going to have to shrink this down a little bit. Whoops, too much. This is the program that I provide for every one of my clients, and it's called EMX, and it's actually sold by a company called eMoney. Their website is emoneyadvisor.com. But what this does is this provides them information in what you see in the upper left-hand corner, the organizer. So all of their investment accounts, checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards can all be entered there. They can control how much of that they want to share with me. If they want to share everything, including transactions, they can, or they can say, no, I only want Briant to see my investments. You'll see on the right, upper right there, it says Vault. This is where we can store any important documents, deeds, trusts, marriage licenses, divorce decrees, mortgages, all those documents that we discussed as being important, auto registration, etc. We can upload all that, and not only is it more secure than being in your file cabinet, it's also available to you should you have a fire or flood or a theft. And they use a 256-bit secured socket layer encryption and security, so it's a very secure method. And you can see right in the middle of the screen there it says spending, and to the right it says budgets. And what that is it will track any of their transactions, including any deposits made or any withdrawals or expenditures made, and it will show them their spending. Where did it go? It gives them a whole bunch of charts that they can run. They can establish a budget. They can enter alerts so that if a bank account gets too low or a credit card amount gets too high, then they will get alerted. And again, I use it myself, and this is exactly how I heard about that $600 charge that was in error. So just something to think about. I know a lot. I talked to a lot of people about investing in the markets lately, and I know that some investors today are still concerned about the market. So I thought I'd close with just one idea. For those that are on the call today, perhaps you've taken it upon yourself to look at this topic of identity theft because you're a conservative or risk-averse person who wants to take very due care, and maybe that applies to your spending, maybe that applies to your investing. So I think the industry by and large talks a lot about stocks and bonds and things like that, but a couple that maybe you haven't heard about that might be of interest to your more conservative side, and that is an FDIC market-linked certificate of deposit. What this does is this links to some kind of an index, and it can be all sorts of different indices ranging from commodities to different aspects of the stock market. So on the upside, it gives you market exposure, but on the downside, you cannot lose any principal. And it's FDIC insured. So this is a way in a low interest rate environment today to get, quote, kind of like our topic today, safe and secure returns. This is going to give you a better return than a CD will. Something else is becoming much more popular that was not as popular recently, or you may have heard about this recently, is a product called a market-linked CD. And again, what a market-linked CD, I apologize, a fixed indexed annuity. It's a life insurance product in which you invest, and again, the key component here is you get tax deferral. You can't lose any principal. So this kind of shows you here where the market is up and down, but on the other hand, you do nothing but go up. You might have a flat year or a slow year, but you never, ever, ever lose principal. And for those that say, gosh, I know I need to get higher rates of return than I can with a market-linked CD or even with a fixed indexed annuity, then there are variable annuities, which allow you to invest in the stock market, but they provide a rider. So the rider here provides either a money-back guarantee after 10 years, 7% withdrawal of all your money over a period of about 13.5 years, or you can turn on 5% for life withdrawals at any time. So here's an example. You invest in this, and 10 years later, if your invested amount is lower than what you put in, you get the greater of either what the investment did or your original principal, whichever is greater. So, or if the market starts to decline, and to be upfront with you, you get concerned, you can start saying, give me my money back. And that shows this blue line of you getting all of your return back. Or you can say, I want you to, I put in $100,000 and the market's starting to decline, or I need income, and you can start withdrawing 5% per year of the amount invested until both you and your spouse were to pass away. So, you know, kind of in the theme of protection, I thought that these couple of products that don't get as much press, the market-linked CD, the fixed annuity, the fixed index annuity, and the variable annuity with a guaranteed principal solutions rider, you know, thought they might be of interest to you. So with that, I am going to say thank you very much for joining me. I have recorded this, and I will upload it to my YouTube channel. So if you want to watch it in the next, it'll take me a day or so to make that happen. If you want to watch that, you can go to BriantSikorski.com and click on my YouTube icon in the upper right-hand corner, and you can watch this again. If you have any questions, just give me a call, 919-650-1527, or you can email me at Briant.Sikorski@lpl.com. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me, and have a wonderful evening.